What would you give up to look reliable to a system that decided you were not before you woke up? Stay with me, because by the end you will see a simple loop that steals money and dignity without using a single gun. You will also see how one small act can break that loop enough to let light in. If you live in a city or buy anything with a phone, this is about you. The story begins in rain, because some truths only show when everything else is washed thin. A delivery rider named Milo pedals into a narrow street and watches his screen blink and then go blank. A message pops up that says, "Low reliability zone and bonus withheld." He brakes too hard, and a car horn shouts back at him like the city is allergic to his presence.
That order just died while I was at the door.
Milo speaks to no one because the app is his boss, and the boss is a wall. He refreshes and sees his rating drop by 1/10, and it feels like a door closing by a hair. On the other side of town, Jenna watches a dashboard glow in a glass office, and the glow paints her face with soft red. She is a junior analyst, and her screen is a map that grades streets the way school used to grade children.
This is not risk, this is a budget-wearing math.
She whispers that one sentence and moves a file named glass_ceiling, XLSX, into a personal folder. That choice will push the story forward the way gravity pulls spilled water downhill. Milo pedals again and aims for a new pin because rent does not care about fairness. He reaches a block where the buildings are older, and the app asks him to confirm identity 3 times in 1 minute.
I live 5 minutes from here, and the app acts like I flew in from Mars.
He laughs once, and it sounds like a cough. He gets the food to the door, and the customer says thanks, and then the tip vanishes from the summary. The app calls it an adjustment, which is a polite word for nowhere. He opens a forum for riders and reads a post that asks if the neighborhood risk score is real. The post disappears after he bookmarks it, and his stomach drops like a key falling through a street grate. A new direct message arrives from a user called Linus, who says to ride the borders if he wants to see something wild.
Borders of what?
The reply says borders of the red and the not red, and then a map emoji he cannot click because the app hates outside links. Milo tries the idea out of spite and curiosity, which are cousins in tight months. He rides along the thin line where one block is scored risky and the next is not, and the pay jumps by 20%.
That is either luck or a secret rule that forgot to hide.
He takes a screenshot because proof is a habit when you are used to being doubted. The system notices the new pattern and sends him a friendly warning about route manipulation. Friendly is doing heavy work in that sentence. In the office, Jenna attends a stand-up meeting where the manager praises loss reduction by 12% since the last model update.
Great work, team. The New Horizon feature is already improving quality in under-monetized clusters.
Jenna hears the phrase under-monetized clusters and decides to click where she was told not to click. She opens a list of features and finds one called NRS, which is short for Neighborhood Risk Score. It weighs history of complaints and order failures and late arrivals, and volatility, which is a neat word for chaos you did not plan for. She runs a quick fairness check with simple bins you would understand without a degree. The map lights up, and poor districts glow like fresh bruises under a cheap bathroom light.
Of course it is geography pretending to be efficiency.
She writes that on a sticky note and hides it under her keyboard, and knows that sticky notes are the first things people miss. The story tightens because now we have a writer who smells a rule and an analyst who sees the rule. The next step is choice, and choice is where a person becomes a plot. Milo tries the border trick again, and his pay jumps, and then he gets flagged for patterns inconsistent with safe operation.
I get punished for going where the app pays me more.
He resets the app, and the flag fades, and it feels like being forgiven by a robot that never cared. At 3 in the morning, the app updates the terms and asks for consent to extra device telemetry for loss prevention. The consent is set to yes by default, and the confirm button is placed where sleepy thumbs go. He toggles a privacy option, and the option disappears on the next update like a coin swallowed by a couch. You recognize this pattern because your phone has taught you to. Jenna drafts a plain file that she calls Scoring the City and fills it with one loop that a child can draw. The loop says less supply leads to longer waits, which leads to more complaints, which raises risk, which lowers pay, and visibility, which makes less supply again.
This is not a bad apple, this is a rigged bucket.
She plans to send this to her manager, but an email from legal arrives first and tells the team to avoid sharing model components externally. That line is normal in tech offices, but today it lands like a locked door in a fire drill. She stares at the glass and sees her own face tilt between the red tiles of the map, and thinks about the route she walked as a kid. She uploads the plain file to a secure drop, run by a small news site that asks more questions than it can afford.
I am not a hero, I am just tired.
She says that to herself, and you know that feeling, because every person who does the right thing starts by wanting to sleep. Miles away, Milo receives a notice that says account under review, and he watches the words like a judge in a dream he cannot speak in.
There has to be a person I can talk to.
The help chat sends him a link to an article that says your case may be decided in a few business days. He reads the last line twice, and both times it does not help. The small news site posts the leak with a headline that says, "The city with a score." It includes 3 charts and 1 map, and 2 sentences in simple language that a teenager could teach to a room. The piece spreads faster than the company can refresh its talking points. People share the loop and laugh first, and then they get quiet. The company posts a reply that says we do not profile, and we care about safety and opportunity for all. It also renames the NRS feature to Quality Horizon, which is a nice phrase because you can look at a horizon and not see the net.
We are committed to transparency and user trust.
Inside the building, team leads are told to sign a reminder about data handling and to avoid personal devices during work hours. Jenna is placed on leave pending investigation, and the word pending becomes a long room with no chairs.
If I had sent it to my boss, it would be pending forever.
Milo was terminated for patterns inconsistent with safe operation, and he is given a link to a survey about how the process felt.
It felt like a door that never had a handle.
He sells his spare bike light and keeps the other, because he still believes in next week. This brings us back to the question we began with, which is how do you pass a test you did not know you were taking? The first answer is, you cannot pass, because the key is hidden. The second answer is you change the test, which takes time and noise, and one person who will not look away. The hearings begin because the leak made it harder to pretend nothing happened. A council room fills with cameras that smell like new plastic and old fear.
Please explain in plain words how your system treats different neighborhoods.
The lawyer for the company is smooth in the way of people who never have to run in rain.
Risk is a neutral function of observable signals.
Jenna is calm, and she does not use jargon because she remembers who she is talking to.
Neutral math with unequal inputs is not neutral.
She draws the loop on a paper with a fat marker, so even the back row can see it.
If you start with places that have more failed orders because drivers avoided them for safety or cost, then you teach the model that those places deserve fewer chances.
The room is quiet in the way that minds are when they accept something simple and heavy. The lawyer asks if she has proof of intent, and she says the loop does not need intent to do harm. You can feel the ground shift because people know that harm without intent still hurts. A small legal clinic picks up Milo and a few riders and files a complaint that is honest and not loud. It asks for audits and appeal rights and pay for wait time generated by throttling. The ask is not radical, which is why it lands. The city proposes an ordinance that requires transparency dashboards and third-party audits for high-impact models. The company agrees to a timeline because fighting in public would cost more than fixing in private. None of this turns the city into a soft pillow, but it takes away a little of the concrete. Milo joins a rider co-op that is run by people who know the price of a tire and the weight of a promise.
The money is steady, and my phone is not a judge.
He still rides in rain, but now the rain only means rain. Jenna does not get the shiny job she wanted because some doors close when you hold a light near them. She receives dozens of messages from workers and a few from quiet managers who say the charts help them push for change.
If the lights are on, you cannot keep pretending there is no furniture.
Her life is not a movie with a swell of strings, but it is a room with a window that opens. We return to the loop one more time so it can be broken now. Less supply leads to longer waits, which leads to more complaints, which raises risk, which lowers pay and visibility, which makes less supply again, but now audits add friction, and appeals add pauses, and co-ops add options, and the circle is not a circle anymore. It is a bent line, and bent is better than closed when you need a way out. The scandal was the hook, and the math was the spine, and the people were the reason to care. Now think about the small moments that kept you listening, so the memory sticks where it matters. Remember how the tip vanished from the summary, and no one could explain it in a sentence. Systems love the fog, because fog is a border they do not have to pay for. Remember how a name like Quality Horizon sounded soft enough to sit on. Language is a tool, but it is also a curtain if you hang it that way. Remember how the app asked for consent at 3 in the morning, and your thumb knew the answer before your mind did? The easiest way to get a yes is to ask a tired person. Remember how the help chat gave a time frame in business days, while Milo counted rent in calendar days? Time is a fair word that often hides a bias. Remember how the lawyer asked about intent, and how that question sounded neat, and how the harm stayed messy? People do not stand in lines of harm, waiting for a stamp that says someone meant it. When a city grades you in secret, the grade becomes a shadow that steps on your toes. When someone pulls that secret into daylight, our toes heal a little, and the floor becomes visible. There is a temptation to ask for a perfect fix, and then give up when you do not get it. Do not do that, because small guardrails save real skin. You might ask why a story like this should matter to you if you do not deliver food and you do not read dashboards. It matters because your home insurance uses a map, and your job application uses a filter, and your loan uses a ghost, and all of them listen to the same ideas. You can keep your eyes closed, but the street does not go away when you do that. Let me offer a few more clear beats, because clear beats are what keep us from drifting into slogans. First, the model used data from places where riders were scarce and called it risk when it was cost and fear. Second, the model lowered visibility and pay in those places, which made riders avoid them more, which made customers wait longer and complain. Third, the company told itself the loop was proof and not design, and then asked for more data. Fourth, a person wrote it down in words you do not need a badge for, and the loop lost its mystery. Fifth, slow policy followed, and that is fine, because slow policy can last. Sixth, some people built another way to work, and it was not perfect, but it was honest. If you are still here, then you are the kind of person who likes things that are honest, even when they cost comfort. That is why we talk like this, and why we do not shrug and move on. The scandal in this story was not a single bad actor with a cartoon grin. The scandal was normal. The scandal was a dashboard that never asked who paid for its quiet. The scandal was a policy that rewarded people for believing that math is a fence with no gate. Here is the moral, and it is short, and it is not soft. When systems grade people in secret, the secrecy does not protect safety, it protects power. Your job is not to pass every hidden test. Your job is to ask for the lights on and to build work that does not hide the rules. If you can do that, the city gets a little fairer, and so does your day. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. If this story moved you, please tap like and hit subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. If you want to support the channel, you can donate using the QR code in the corner or the link in the description. In the description, you will also find links to other series that explore very different stories. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care and come back for the next story soon.